Okay. Cool out, check back, making dinner. Okay, got you. Okay. So I'm gonna give a little bit of time for some people to get in here because this is very, very serious stuff. I'm just gonna chill for a minute. I don't know where to start because there's so many angles that I could go with this. So like I said, I'm gonna give some time for some people to get into the room. Get my truck cooled off too, then I'll shut it off. For anybody watching this while it's a video, I'm just going to ask for some patience. Just a little bit of patience, people. Because I want these people to be in the room here. If I can, what I'll do is no, I know what I can do. I'm linked up. What was I thinking? I don't even need any help. I can do this. Let's check this out. Let's see what I can do. Stay with me, people. I'm working on something. This is something I have to do real quick. Let's see how it works. Oh, it's going to be slowed a little bit, but it'll work. Or it's going to be slowed a little bit. I'm working on it. I appreciate everybody showing up that watches this later too. And like I said, I will get into this here. But let's see here. Oh, this is like the world's slowest. See, when I'm all tethered up, it does this. That's okay though. I'll get there. Here we go. Really? How does that work? This thing is so slow and so behind. I see I've got one in the room here. I'm working on something real quick. If I can make this happen, this would be great. Trying to let them know on a couple other sites here too. And I'm waiting for people to get into the room. This is some pretty big time stuff. It's not going to let me do what I'm trying to do. Here's how I do it. We'll get to it in just a second. Like I said, it's letting some people know here too, and then see, how can I do this? Just trying to paste. It does not want to let me paste on this device. I'm gonna try to anyway. This, man, yeah, there's some stuff going on in this world that you people should be aware of, and so I was trying to send this to someone on Twitter and make that work. Okay, I've been working on the schematic. I haven't worked on my graph yet, and I haven't worked on finding all the locations and all the levels yet. Let's shut this thing down. Shut the truck. Okay. See, I'm getting some people in the room here. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes here, and I'm working on something here, like I said. Oh, this is good. It's actually working. Great. So I'm tethering everything up, and just getting started here. You haven't missed anything. All right. So here's where I'm at on this deal. They don't give you intel. I found out my own information in looking at different internet sources and going all over the internet, and this is a big deal. This really is a big deal. I'm trying to think of which angle to start on. I'm going to go into it in a second here. Man, this thing is trying to trap me in Twitter land, I guess. Let me just close that out. I don't even care. Close that. I've got another device tethered to this one and running live at the same time, so I'm asking a lot out of my limited tech here that I've got. But hey, I am maximizing my ability with everything I have. I can guarantee you that. Stretching it to the limits. I'm pushing the envelope. At some point I'm going to do a video, and the picture of it will be my hand through an envelope. I've done pushed through the envelope. All right, so, all right. Well, like I said, it's difficult to know where to start. I'm gonna start here. I'll just start here for a second, okay? They had a reporter, and it freaked me out the other day because I was like, they even had me freaking out. And they said they were upwind of the. I'm like, upwind. Of course, you're always gonna be upwind, but this, it freaked me out because the lady wasn't upwind. So that's why I was like, what are you doing upwind? But it was where she was standing. It freaked me out so bad. They were not upwind of the event. And I'm gonna show you where this reporter wasn't. And if you were in a truck in this area, you need to get checked out. I've got a friend of mine said that he had an issue. I want you to watch this real quick. We're gonna get into some new stuff. This is an older video that I overlooked. So I'm not yelling over it. This is an older video that had information in it. I overlooked this. Then I went back and I said, wait a minute, because it had, this video had, it had some stuff on the chemical tanks. It did show one thing. It showed which tank started it all. But what it had on here was at the chemical fire, it was showing these reporters and how they were affected. And then I saw the smoke. And then another video had a lady with a mask on, and it threw me, and then things started to click. Okay, people? And then it all came together, and it started making sense. Everything started making sense. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm gonna play this, and I want you to watch how quick. Here's the problem. They're putting these reporters out there with, they should be having full hazmat suits on with a hood and everything, not just a mask like I wore when I was pumping off, and goggles and a safety shield and a hard hat, okay, for spray. This is for a gas. These are gases. First, I'm going to say something. The ITC chemical plant wants you to think that they are a refinery, wants you to think that they are a gasoline company. They want you to think that they're mixing up gasoline and that you're going to put it in your car later. They're going under the guise of something that's way safer than what they do. Okay? All right. And I'm going to explain better in just a second, but I want to show this reporter dropping out. Okay, she just drops out because she's affected by this chemical. And if you look at this video, I'm going to play it at some point. I'm going to do a different video with a laptop up there and tether it and show her dropping out. But you're just going to have to bear with me for this second because I've got some more intel. I'm going to use this device. Okay, I'm going to play this real quick, and I want you to watch. And they shouldn't have these cars here too. This all should be, really, I said it should be evacuated for a couple miles, and now probably 10, but that's okay. Let me just show you what these people are doing. They shouldn't be driving cars by it. I want you to, you'll watch this reporter drop, but I believe there was 2 reporters. This is a young black lady. The other one is a young Chinese mixed lady, okay? And they're affected by this chemical in a way that it gets in your skin, but you'll breathe it, and the effects of it, she smelled nothing, no odor, no nothing, will make you bleed from your nose, basically out of your lungs. It'll eat your cilia up. It'll punch holes in your lungs like it was radiation. It goes through your skin. It affects your whole body, your nervous system. It's like a nerve agent. It's like a neurotoxin. But there's another gas that I found out about that they don't want you to know about. Horsefly 22 put, sup. What's up, dude? You gotta hear this stuff, dude. You've got to hear what I'm fixing to put out, and you got to watch this, and you got to understand something. It's way worse than what they want to tell you. This is new news. This has not been out yet. You won't hear this until they find out about it and put all the pieces together. I've already put a lot of the pieces together. It's what they don't tell you that's important. So I'm gonna play this, and I want you to watch this reporter drop out. We'll go further, then we'll go further, and then I'll show you the chart that I made that shows the chemical plant, all of what they had and what was good and what was bad and what they didn't tell you. Okay, And that, by the way, is 80-7. That's the wall breach, 10 feet of it. That's the leak that caught on fire, went down to the channel. Okay, I'm gonna go into this in a second. You've got to bear with me. You got to watch this whole video. So, okay, I'm gonna play this, and I want you to listen and watch this reporter grab her nose and fall out, and then they no longer put her back in the shot. This is older footage. This is not today, but you've got to watch this to understand where I'm going with this. Then I'm going to show you another video of a woman with a mask on. Then I'm going to go further, and then you're going to understand, and what I found on the internet about this company, you will understand that they don't want you to know this, okay?
But it seems like they had it under control, but as we see now, that is
this is
huge.
her.
It's a big plume behind you. We saw those flames sparking up, and again, people that are seeing
to the front.
This is definitely bringing a lot more concern and wondering, when are we going to be over with this? When is this going to finally be
It's not
going
to
to end? We don't have to worry about it.
But
people appear to have just been starting to get comfortable. Businesses had reopened today. We know much of yesterday, Deer Park, Galena Park, they were under a shelter in place that was lifted today. We know a small area was still under a shelter in place as of a couple of hours ago because of that dike wall collapse. But right now, as of today, much of Deer Park was just getting back into place, and now it appears that we are back to square one, Chauncey and Myra. As you can see from this very devastating image, this big, thick, black cloud of smoke protruding from the tank, and a lot of flames covering that tank as well. It's not clear which tank this is, but we just know that it's just not good at all.
Showing up live here on camera, we did notice police rushing to the scene. I would imagine that you know, fire department will also be rushing
she just
to the
does
scene here
brush
shortly.
her nose.
What are you seeing there?
Watch what happens next.
Well, I want to point out we have two visuals here. We have Stefania Coley, they're reporting.
Stefania Coley, remember that name.
You can see
listen to me. There's the smoke. There's the smoke, and she grabs her nose. Why? Okay, I'm gonna show you again. I'm gonna show you again. I'm gonna show you again. Listen, people. She should have had on full. She's not downwind. That's above, and she is all encompassed. It is all encompassing. Hang on a second.
Exactly how it looked earlier this week when several tanks were on fire. The hope, of course, is that this is just one tank and it can keep it contained to that one tank. But from here, I can see the flames lower down into the tank.
This may be after that.
Starts, and it just appears that it is just going and going, and it has been doing this for at least the last 10 minutes here.
This is very important that you watch this so you know how quickly it gets people.
Towards the end of the week, and officials did tell me, you know, this might happen. They did say this could possibly happen. They may reignite again, but it seems
see if I can get a better shot too, a little bit lower.
As we see now,
no, there she is.
Huge. It's
great.
A big plume behind
I want you to watch how quick this gets her, and I'm showing you the smoke right now. Right now, there comes the smoke. She don't see it, but I see it. You can see the smoke. I'm gonna do. It's low to the ground. It's been pushed by the cars coming up. I see the smoke. It's a cloud, not the black, but the white that's lower. She is not upwind. That is all over, and she is in it, but it's not that. It's this other chemical. It's a mystery chemical. I'm gonna look at the smoke. Not this smoke. Look at the dust right in here. This gray cloud that comes this way on the ground level. No, it's not on fire again, but you got to watch this. There's the dust right there. That gray smoke coming to her. It's coming this way. The cars are blowing it, and just a little bitty whiff gets her that quick. Watch she grabs her face. Watch right here. Watch her grab her face. And listen to her.
I would imagine that you know, fire department will also
rubs her nose.
To the scene
no big deal.
What are you seeing there on the ground level?
Now she is asthmatic, but you got to watch this.
We have two visuals here. We have Stefania Coley, they're reporting.
Watch her right here, right here. She bugs out. She just chokes out. Her skin, her nose, her face, all of that. She's out. You can already
see that huge plume of smoke that's going up in the air just behind the Houston skyline.
I hope I wasn't being too loud, but you got to hear some of this other stuff. She's choking.
Crazy to see, and
in
I'm
the
sure
distance.
A lot of people that are seeing this right now. You see that big cloud back there? That's the fire, and it took only a matter of minutes. We saw this in the newsroom. It started sparking back up. We saw the flame, and just like that, we can see it now behind the skyline. This is just incredible. The fact that we're still dealing with this after
they try to go back to her. They're giving her aid right now. They try to go back to her, and they had to do they had to do everything but go back to her.
This all happened there at the facility after they announced they are working to empty those 2 million gallons of chemical that were burning inside the tank that leaked the benzene. Yesterday, that's what we were dealing with. Crews were supposed to move the chemical from the damaged tank to a more secure tank. That's what officials told us. But during that release, officials also said there was a possibility that we could see another benzene release, which was the concern today. The Houston Ship Channel also announced today that they were closing from Tucker Bayou to Light 116 due to the pollution from the fire incident. Of course, here starting back up again, and we see the flames.
Okay, I'm just going to put a link to this video, and you can listen to her choking and all this that I'm trying to pick up on. They can't go back to her. She's out.
Are okay and safe, because we know there were hazmat crews out there trying to contain all of that, trying to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. But at this point, we're making calls. Obviously, we're trying to figure out what exactly happened. But when you look at the bigger picture, Chauncey,
okay, I'm gonna get off this thing because it's getting a little bit loud. I'm gonna turn this down a bit. Now, I want you to see something here. This is not what it's not just about this video. I want you to keep with me. Stay with me, people. I'm going to share some stuff with you, some more stuff with you. Okay, so she choked out. All right. It's saying very bad connection. We're not done yet. They affect each other. These two devices affect each other. No big deal. Okay, see, I'm still here. All right, so give me just a second, people. Okay, I'm going to go to that video that shows where the lady had a mask on, and then I'll go further. And these people know, and we don't know. But I'm fixing to give it to you. Hold tight. Let's see if I can get to it here. Just got to find it. This won't take me but a couple more seconds. So that lady choked out. There was another reporter that choked out. They're sending them down there. First, she was itching on her arms. First, she rubbed her nose, and then she was itching on her arms, and then she grabbed her mouth and choked out, like completely choked out. Okay, that was an evacuation of oxygen in her body. And when she went down to the ground, she actually breathed in more of it. She's now been affected. Now I want you to see something real quick. This lady right here, what is happening with me is what she's saying. Let's see. These two devices affect each other. It's no big deal. Okay. Every time I do that, it makes it very bad connection. So we're back here if I lost it. Now, okay. If I can make this happen. I've just got to move this clipboard, that's all. So, all right. Here's what we've got. This is really bad. This is worse, like I said, than I thought. And I'll explain why. And I was picking up on this, and I wish I had gotten it sooner and completely understood it. Man, if I could get this thing to work for me. Let's see. Hold tight. I'm trying to get you the best view of this. I guess it's not the best view whenever I'm messing it all up, right? But I got it now. Okay. So people, here's the question that you should ask yourself, and this is what I was asking myself the other day, but I had to look up these chemicals. I really had to dig. I had to make my own chart. I had to go further. Then I had to go online and research. Okay. This woman, first off, that mask right there, it's supposed to be over her nose, by the way, but that mask does absolutely nothing to keep chemicals out of your body. You need a breather, okay? I want you to understand that a medical personnel, anybody who is understood quarantine or ever been a nurse or ever been a doctor already knows what I'm talking about and what I see. I saw it, but I didn't have the information because I didn't know what chemical it was. Okay, so I had no way of knowing. Now I absolutely know. It's one of many bad ones. Okay, so we'll go further. This woman's at the doctor seeking help, and they made her put that mask on. That is not so that she doesn't breathe in anything bad in the room. That is so that what she has already breathed in does not come out of her lungs and contaminate other people. Do you understand how bad this stuff is now? This stuff is the devil. I'm going to zoom out just a bit so that you can get this picture a little bit better. That is the best I can do, and that's clarity is pretty good. I want you to listen to what she says as compared to the child that has the bleeding nose and the other one, because everybody lives in different areas. Different gases went in different directions, but they all mix together. But I want you to listen to her, because she's trying to tell you people something, and you got to listen. Okay, let's try this out, and then I'll go further and you'll understand.
What's happening with me? Because first of all, that's not normal.
Our daughter, she was feeling fine until recently. Today she started throwing up and having diarrhea.
Today she woke up and she's feeling like she's having like she's getting a nosebleed.
Tonight, in their own words, the very real health concerns for people living near the ITC facility.
2 teens, a high-powered rifle.
Okay, we're going to go past this mess and we'll get into the other. And I know I showed this the other day, but there's new intel on it. Okay? I want you to see something.
Another release of the dangerous chemical benzene.
This was the other day.
Crews are constantly monitoring the air quality in the area, and at last check, things are looking good. But company officials have warned us a shift in the foam that is covering the benzene could happen
every night.
Again,
that's going to happen,
allowing the toxic vapors to escape. Air 11 flew over the facility today as crews sprayed more foam on the tanks. They've been working as quickly and safely as possible to pump out the remaining liquid and transfer it to another tank so they don't have to rely on the foam to keep the benzene contained anymore.
So what if it does happen again? Will you get the warning you need? Some people reach out to us today saying they had no idea there was a shelter in place until they tried to go to work. Grace White went to find out what went wrong.
They had two sirens that are bad that still haven't been fixed as far as I know.
Many of you were sleeping.
While you were
around
asleep.
2:54, ITC reported elevated levels of benzene. Then around 3:23, they issued a shelter in place. The city of Deer Park followed at 5 a.m.
I'm going to stop right there at 5 a.m. At that point in time, the city of Deer Park knew what was going on, and they said, shelter in place, you guys got it. This is really bad, right? They got a phone call from the company. ITC turned off their monitors as soon as they got off the phone with them at 5:08. Okay? So at 5:08, they turned off the monitors because they were off the chart. But it's not just that they were off the chart about what they're telling you about. They were off the chart with other chemicals. I'm gonna tell you something now that you're not gonna believe, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop it right now. And I've got 3 in the room. Okay. I looked all over the internet. I looked on Twitter. I found other people that were checking it out, and one guy that actually found something, he's a reporter. They contain on that farm somewhere cyanide, people. They don't want to use that word, even though all these other gases are just as bad, because people understand cyanide. Okay? And this is a chemical grade cyanide that within the past 12 years, the guy said that they have had several lawsuits against them over, they paid out over $200,000 in fines in the past 12 years. They have paid out over $200,000 in fines, okay, for air and water quality violations over the past 12 years, including toluene and cyanide. Okay? Anyone who has ever been affected with cyanide, according to the book, people, cyanide, when you look it up, is guide 157 for the people that are playing along at home. Guide 157, okay? And it says, I'll just paraphrase, I just read it 3 times, I'm not going to read it again. If you are dealing with a person who has breathed in cyanide, you cannot give them mouth to mouth, even if they are dying, unless you have not just a plastic nozzle like I was talking about the other day, but it has to have a one-way check valve on it, so you blow into them, then you disconnect it from their mouth and they breathe out, but that you don't get any air back into your mouth from their lungs. They are then deadly when they've got it in their lungs. A minute ago when I showed you that woman, that poor woman that didn't know what was going on next, she had a mask on her face, not for the benefit of herself, but for the safety of those around her, so they don't die of cyanide poisoning. Likely. I can't say for sure because they won't give us all of the intel, but they turned off the monitors at 5:08 for a reason, and I'm going to give you some more information. This is the chart that I made that covers this stuff. Okay? 80-7. Okay? So here's what we know, and it is numbered in this way because these two tanks were unaffected in the top left corner. I put OK for 80-13 and OK for 80-10. Okay? Alright. Let's start here. 80-1 contained naphtha. Okay? Now, the first tank that caught on fire, they said was here. Okay? The entire thing is burnt up. All of them except these two. They're charred, but they're not burnt. They didn't leak. We hope. Here's the problem. They gave us intel little by little, as if we had this chart, but we didn't. Other people do have this chart, probably. This is why she says 80-1, 80-whatever, and like we're supposed to know. Well, I'm telling you so you will know. 80-1 is naphtha, and it's located right here. This is where the breach in the wall was, 10-foot breach, and then all this stuff went down here, and then it got lit up, okay, while they were pumping this off at the same time. So this is 80-1 naphtha. This one is 80-2. They were calling something pie gas, okay? They're now calling it gas blend stock. If you look up in this book, you will not find gas blend stock. You understand? It's not a proper name, okay? They say it contains xylene. They don't tell you what else it contains. Let's go further. Again, 80-3 gas blend stock, xylene, and is that the pie gas? And they don't tell what's in it. They don't tell what other chemicals. It's not just xylene. This one may be straight xylene, 80-5. Mystery tank number 1 is 80-4. They won't tell you what's in 80-4. They won't tell you what's in 80-6. They won't tell you what's in 80-9. 80-8 is the pie gas. That's the first one they wanted to talk about. 80-10 they won't tell you about, but it's okay because it's contained. They won't tell you about that one. It's contained. 80-14 they won't tell you about it. It burned and it leaked, and the gases went everywhere. Not just flammable liquid gas that you breathe that will knock you out like that reporter, and it got her quick. 80-11. See, they're sitting there on their news saying we're upwind, but they're not. They don't know what upwind is. And she says, oh, I'm asthmatic and this is my first chemical spill. She comes back on later. No, it's not just because it's your first time. It's because you've been affected by a gas that's shortened your life now. 8 holes in your lungs and made you, do all that stuff. So where she was on the side, choking and everything else, and puking and stuff. So 80-11, mystery gas, right? They don't want you to know what's in there. 80-12, mystery gas. They don't want you to know what's in there. 80-15, what's in there, right? Okay, so let's go with this for a second, and I'll tell you what they've been fined for. Over $200,000 they had to pay out because it was proven, and that takes a long time to prove that for air and water quality violations over the past 12 years for leaks including toluene and cyanide. All of these chemicals can knock you out that quick. They got her some fresh air, she got up, and then after that, I think she's down for the count. I don't know how long, but If you drove past that plant, you're going to need to get checked out. But this is cyanide, a whole nother guide. So I'm going to go over a few of the things, like I said, that I had wrote down on the guide, and different chemicals that they use, in case you want to look it up on the guide. Then we'll go further on this graph that this news channel made. It's cyanide, people, way bad. Okay, so naphtha. If you look it up, you can't find naphtha. You can find naphthalene crude. That's guide 133. They were supposed to evacuate. Toluene. That one shows up in the book, guide 130. You're supposed to evacuate. Benzene, guidebook 130. You're supposed to evacuate. Now, this was the first day, not every other consecutive night that they've been letting people stay in their homes and get gassed by this, because their home is not a special place that is impervious to this gas. And it pools in low places. Don't go in your basement. Don't go in manholes. Don't go, look, it's all bad. I put a manifesto of a comment on the last video that I dropped. I'll put it on this one also. I'm just going to copy and paste it. Okay, so going further from toluene, benzene 130. Okay, that's the one that they're looking for. They know just it's quicker to kill you, but the other ones, they're all deadly, all of them. It's going to shave years off your life if you stay there. You should be leaving if you're not in a shelter in place till the rain, and the rain's going to bring down the gases that went up into the cloud that are unburnt. But xylene, X-Y-L-E-N-E, guide 130. And if it's a liquid, guide 153. Just like the naphthalene crude is 133, and these are all also affected by other ones. However, cyanide comes under this other guide, and then it tells you another thing, shows you a chart, and it even says that there's another guide that's for it. So it's guide 157. Well, I gotta write that down too, because I didn't even write that down yet. But let's see, cyanide, and there's all these other mystery tanks that probably don't have cyanide. They may even have things that are even worse, if you can imagine that. Okay, listen. I think what maybe in those other two tanks may be so important that they had to do whatever they had to do to protect and make them not catch on fire and whatever. And it may be even that that the ones that have already burnt could have that stuff that knocked that girl out, but there was another one that they said she was affected by it, and she said it was colorless and odorless. This one here is almost making excuses for it a second ago, saying she's asthmatic and it was her first chemical spill. Now, it's not something you get used to, people, and it's not something you're going to live through. One time exposure is one time too many. Zero exposure is what's acceptable, period. Parts per million. That was a full cloud of it. It was probably, you know, 1,000 parts per million. It could have been off the charts, and the cars were coming by and they were blowing it to them, but it was overhead and they were not downwind of that event. They were sitting there saying, we're upwind of it. It freaked me out. I'm like, what are you doing then? Don't be upwind. You're supposed to be upwind. They were not upwind. They confused me with what they said. Listen, that is not upwind. If you are beside something and it's traveling this way, you are sidewind, and it travels it out like this, and then it pushes the gases out too, and you are affected. It's a broader thing than you can see. You see the smoke plume like this, it's affecting you like this in that direction, and also blowing back this way and coming down from the ceiling as it drops down and doesn't want to travel with the cloud. You should have been way over this way where there's no road. In the woods, it doesn't matter, that's where you should have been. Maybe you couldn't set up a camera there, but that's where you should have been. So we're going to go further. I'm going to listen to more of this, but they turned off the oh, I've done did that. They turned off the let's see, the sensors at 508, the 47 sensors all around the place. But let's see what we got.
An alert. The shelter in place was lifted around lunchtime at 11:40, but it's
due to stay informed. Grace?
Here's what happened last night while many of you were sleeping. Around 2:54, ITC reported elevated levels of benzene. Then around 3:23, they issued a shelter in place. The city of Deer Park followed at 5 a.m. asking people to stay indoors. And at 6:48, Reddy Harris emailed an alert. The shelter in place was lifted around lunchtime at 11:40.
And they never should have sent that reporter girl down there.
People are so concerned about.
So you can't even hear it.
We heard from people who didn't hear the sirens in Deer Park, and we've since learned 2 of them were down and are scheduled to be replaced. Here's why that alert system is so important. Tonight, new numbers from ITC show between 4 and 8 a.m., there were 51 benzene detections, with a peak of 10.55 parts per million.
Wait, did you just hear that? With a peak of 10.55 parts per million. 1 part per million will make the sensors go off. This is what they're not telling you whenever they get in front of you and they do the lineup in front of the wall. This kind of stuff where they just, oh, well, we told you about the 10 points over. So, for anybody who's affected by this, take notes right now and write down that at that time while you were sleeping, you were affected by that chemical at 10 point something. It goes on a graduated scale. 1 point something parts per million, 1 part per million period, is where you get out of there, okay? And it's deadly of an exposure rate of whatever. 4 parts per million is actually 5 times as bad, okay? 5 times the level that even that company who will get the largest level possible to have people be able to be susceptible to this stuff that might kill them later, to say, oh, well, this is our legal limit. This was 10. It was off the chart, and she just showed you what time it hit you while you were sleeping and while your kids were sleeping, and that's why your kids wake up with bleeding.
ITC's own threshold for what's safe. Harris County Precinct 2 Commissioner Adrian Garcia says
it's like 10 times.
That's almost 5 times ITC's own threshold for what's safe. Harris County Precinct 2 Commissioner Adrian Garcia says something has to change.
I have very, very low confidence in ITC. I have been probably the most vocal person to say that I'm frustrated as to how
we're going to get in to show that woman with the mask
Garcia told us it's still an active scene out there, and there's always the possibility what happened last night could happen again. If you're worried about not hearing those sirens, you can go to khou.com. You can sign up to get a text or a phone call when there's an emergency. Mia?
So what is benzene, the chemical that everybody is so worried about?
Benzene is the one chemical they'll tell you about.
Crude oil and is a major part of gasoline.
It's not, see,
in simple terms, it's known to cause cancer.
It's a concentrated chemical that's not nothing like what it came from.
Benzene is extracted from crude oil, then stored to make other products like plastics, dyes, detergents, rubber, drugs, and pesticides. Most of us are exposed to it in
but you seen that guy wearing a suit when he was spraying a diluted version of it.
Car fumes on our daily commute to cigarette smoke, industrial emissions, and even a wood log fire. But levels inside your home might even be higher. We're talking about things like glue, paint, furniture wax, and detergents can all have benzene. So what's so alarming about what happened at ITC is the amount that was released. The toxic fumes coming
and the concentration level of the chemical
evaporating at ground level, making those who live closest to the site at greatest
and babies and kids that crawl on the ground and are too short to get up to fresh air that walk along and die, and they're more sensitive.
What
so
pollutants might be flowing into the water. We won't know the test results for a few weeks.
There's been a lot of confusion today about why benzene is more of a concern now than during the fire.
No, the confusion, people, is about what's in the mystery tanks that they're not telling you about. All these other tanks. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
There's no heat and very little wind to disperse the vapors, so they linger closer to the ground.
7 mystery tanks and 2 more that they don't tell you about, but that haven't been damaged.
Check on that wind as we take a live look toward the
what's in the other 7 tanks? What was released? Was it cyanide? How many of them were cyanide? Why don't they want to tell you what's in the tanks?
Cleveland, Conroe, Tomball, closer to the side of the fire, or what was the fire. South breeze for years to come.
Watch, she shouldn't even took that mask off. Watch this though.
And my nose been running. I'm like, what's happening with me? I'm gonna be 59 years old next month. I never experienced nothing like this before. What's going on now in the area? You never know how it's gonna affect me.
She was supposed to have that mask on
for years to come. I'm concerned at least 6. It's on a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm saying 8 or 9. Our daughter, she was feeling fine until recently. Today she started throwing up and having diarrhea.
I mean, we were going to shelter in place, and then as soon as I opened our bedroom door, I could smell it.
And she was smart enough to leave.
I mean, there's no point in sheltering in place if it's inside the house.
Exactly. So she's only 1.5 years old. And
evacuate.
It's kind of scary.
Just trying to stay calm, but just scared.
We noticed this was the only place looking at kids now.
Well, the wait is getting longer and longer just because more people are coming in. I think right now they're on 72 and we're at number 141. I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing here because they know what they're looking for and they know what kind of chemicals were exposed out into the air. My wife, she doesn't have a real strong immune system. She's been real ill the last couple of days. You know, recently I just left the last company I was working for, so I don't have health insurance right now.
Your immune system won't.
So it was a concern because I was like, man, how, where are we going to take her? You know, we just moved here and then now, you know, this happens. And that's the air we breathe. That's the air my children breathe. So it's a big concern because you want to make sure that everybody in your family stays healthy.
So adorable. You hope they're...
Let me tell you something, people. Hold on. I want to show that
so a big concern
picture again for a second here.
Because you want to make sure that everybody in your family stays healthy.
You see this kid right here? What they don't know is the clothing that she is currently wearing is saturated with that chemical. And she is still dosing herself right now. Do you understand that? Do you get that, people? You should be throwing those clothes away. Maybe washing off with vinegar. Use an eye wash for at least 20 minutes. Take a shower somewhere else, not in that area. Throw away your clothes and put on new clothes. Are you with me? KHOU says on their website that you can wash those clothes, but you see that baby right there? That baby didn't stand a chance. They've shaved years off the life of that child. I don't know how many. I will tell you this. All of those chemicals are bad, but they're not telling you about the fact that they got cited for a cyanide leak. That is not a refinery that makes gasoline. They are a nasty chemical storage plant. And oftentimes, their more nasty and dangerous and volatile chemicals are stored in a section that is specialized. That section that just caught on fire was probably the nastiest crap on the whole place. Okay? And they're not telling you what was in it. I think they're telling firefighters. I hope they're telling firefighters. You need a full SCBA suit. If they didn't tell you that, then they lied to you also. You need to look at your book and look up cyanide. You need to ask them what was in those other tanks. You need to make them tell you the truth before you go out there and pump off chemicals and fight this thing. Understand what I'm saying is you got to communicate the risk, and that's my job, and that's what I'm doing here, is I'm communicating the risk. Okay? It's my job to. Whether it's the truck I'm hauling or the guy next to me if there's a fire and people don't know, and I can look up the number and find out the guide response and tell people, stay back this far, or whether it's someplace out here and this baby right here can't talk for herself and she can't read this book, and not everybody can pass a hazmat test. But does that mean that you should just let those people stay and shelter in place? No. It means it's your job then. If you're a doctor and you know more, you need to be talking. If you are a chemist and you know about this, you need to be talking right now. I'm talking right now on my limited knowledge, which is a lot more than what they have, because look, they're still in the same clothes. Understand what I'm saying, people? This is nasty stuff that you don't play with, you don't be around, and you can't live through. You can't. It's going to eat holes in your lungs. You can't. So, and don't settle with these companies. They want you to go to their website and settle for some money right now. I don't care if you have to live on the street, don't settle. Sleep in your car for the next couple of weeks if you have to. Stay out of this place. I'm telling you, the rain is coming back down, but when it does rain, that chemical is going to leak again also, and the rain is bringing the chemical that's up in the clouds that went up with that fire. It's unburnt, and that's why it was dark black. I'm sounding like a broken record. I understand that, but there's some more people in the room. Watch this video, share this video. I'm supposed to, if I ever have a leak in a tanker, if I'm ever running one, it would have to be my job to tell people for initially a half a mile, then a mile, and then go further to evacuate, okay, with any one of those chemicals. They've dumped them all on these people. And there's a baby with a bleeding nose and burnt lungs and, you know, no info, and they're not telling them. They should be running them through. They don't want to scare them, but they should all be wearing hazmat suits in this place. They should be walking them through a thing that they spray them down, wash them off, take them into another room, give them more clothes, move them further. I'm telling you, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, okay? And the woman was smart enough to get out of the house because it was a strong smell, but you may not smell it at all, and it may not affect you till later. Okay, you know what, Dickie Mo, I hope you're talking about, I don't even know what to say about what you're talking about, but don't say stuff like that, dude. But, you know, I hope you're not talking about the people on here, because for real, dude, I'll kick you off my channel if it's like that. I mean, I hope you're talking about, like, I wouldn't even know to say that about even the people that had the leak, but the people that had the leak, the Texas governor is going to make them, you know, hold their feet to the fire on it, is what he says, but I don't know if legally they can. So, you know, I'll tell you, let's see what we got here, though. Ellie put that she'll check back making dinner. This one, horsefly sup. And on Michael Medina, and yeah, I told you it's not on fire again. And then we got this one here. So, you know, I think that I'm gonna put him in timeout. That's timeout. So, anyways, maybe I need to start throwing some wrenches. But you see, I mean, anyways, you look at that kid and you tell me that we're not supposed to communicate the risk and supposed to tell what's going on. That kid has no idea what has happened. Even the parents, like I said, and so there's people that can't pass hazmat. Does that mean that they're just supposed to be hurt, or just supposed to say, oh, well, they don't know any better? So no, it's our job to protect them. You're supposed to pick up the weaker one and walk, you know, carry them on your shoulder if you have to. And if you're walking with babies, you need to understand that the gas is low to the ground. You need to pick them up, carry them everywhere. But I would get out of this place. I'm telling you, people, I was saying it from day one. They should have done at least a voluntary evacuation, if not a mandatory one. So, but I'm gonna go further from this, and I'm gonna play this other one here. I'm gonna see if there's anything new on it, but this chemical, they got them for cyanide, and it's in legal court documents, so it's real. You can't make this stuff up, and I don't know what's in those other tanks. It's likely they probably had 2 tanks of cyanide and 2 tanks of something worse than that, and 2 tanks. Like I said, there's too much that's not accounted for. There's too much they won't tell you about, and they want to talk about, they want to tout 80-7. Oh, we're working on 80-7, right? 80-7, that's all they want to talk about. Well, all these other ones burn up and they won't tell what's in it, okay? And these are not, yes, they may be components found in gasoline. Maybe they put cyanide in gasoline. I don't know what they're putting in there, but somewhere on that complex, somewhere on their place there, they had a leak of cyanide, and it's in court documents that they had it. They need to fess up and tell what these babies are being put through. Tell the parents what they're put through too, because the parents are affected too. They just don't feel it yet. The symptoms are not going to show up until later, unless you are asthmatic and it hits you right away, or unless you are a baby. And the baby can't tell you they're having symptoms. They could get used to it and say, well, this is normal for me. I've just, you know, whatever. It's bad stuff. So let's see here. I'm gonna get some fresh air myself, cool off a bit. So, oh man, it's like I said, they're keeping a lot from you, and I made that schematic, and I've started filling in the other ones. I figured out which one was which, and we're missing quite a few tanks that they're not telling us what the chemical is. So hold tight. This one's watch live, that news. Air back over. That's old though. I'd like to know, honestly. And it reignited the other day. I'm not saying that I think it's going to reignite, but the rain is definitely going to mess up that foam, and just a little bit of movement and all that gas is going to come out, and the people are going to get gassed. And I already said that there would be thousands in the hospitals and you wouldn't be able to get in there. I said that from day one. From day one, people, I said that. I said you need to get out now because you won't even be able to get help. There'll be thousands of people in line ahead of you. There was hundreds, then there was 200s and 500s, and now they're saying just what I said. I haven't looked at it online yet to see the numbers, but someone mentioned thousands of people in the hospitals, or these little places that they can go to. You know, if you add them all up, all them little spots that they check people out at. Maybe it's so that they can help them, but maybe it's also so that they can keep the numbers down at the hospitals and keep those people that breathed in cyanide from walking into a hospital and contaminating people in the hospital with cyanide. That's why the woman was wearing a mask. So understand this, they know that it's cyanide, or they wouldn't have the girl with a mask, the woman with wearing a mask. They're not telling you people, but they know it. You see what I'm saying? They need to let you know. Because even if your neighbor's affected and you're not, but they breathe on you and then you're affected because they just breathe cyanide to you. You see what I'm saying, people? This has gotten out of hand, and it's up in the clouds, and it's coming back down as black rain very soon. You don't want to be under it when it happens. That'll be a whole new shelter-in-place event. But the gas coming off the thing, out of the tank, is going to be more of that stuff. And it's not just benzene or toluene or xylene. It's stuff they don't want to tell you about. They got all these mystery tanks. So let me try to find this other thing that I was looking at. Oh man, I want to go to this one's site too and see if they've got anything up new about it. But they don't want to tell you that they got busted with cyanide. Let's see. And they called experts in to test the water, and those people are settling. And stay off the water too, by the way, because the gas is floating on top of the water out there. The whole channel's closed, and it's for a good reason. It's because the whole thing is now got gas on top of it, and it's polluted because it went past the buoy. But it's mainly that gas, that air gas.
But even that sample was
not a liquid gas.
Surface water quality standards.
But
so,
after what happened,
we're gonna play this.
Folks also spent the day checking on the health of Galveston.
No, first they spent the day at the doctors. They're back every day. Hey, it happened again. It happened again. It's going to happen every night.
Folks also spent the day checking on the health of Galveston Bay.
See how they stopped that real quick? Look, this is their video. They stopped and they just quick came off of these people that are in the hospital, in the doctor or whatever. Let's see. And judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off, for truth is fallen in the street, and iniquity cannot enter. Isaiah 59:14. Yeah, and it's a lot like what's going on there, you know. Man, this is just crazy. I'm gonna let this play. But you see that they quickly get away from these people. I guess that, is this the second time for that same lady to be in there, or is this part of that other video? But they're going back in there every day. Every night you get gassed, every day you go back in for help. And there's thousands of them in line now.
Folks also spent the day checking on the health of Galveston Bay. In all this, the Galveston Bay Foundation hired an expert to come in and take samples from the Houston Ship Channel. Here's Janelle Bluda.
Well, part of the ship channel is closed today, so crews had to take those samples from the shore. They say it's something
and people are going out there
to stop doing until they know the water is safe.
There's these crazy independent people that are going out there and they're taking all these samples of water and reaching over the boat, and they don't realize that they're gassing themselves out there. And some of them, even if they have gas masks, it's getting to their skin and it gets into your body from your hand, same as everything else. And you dip your hand in the water, you just dosed yourself.
Wearing life jackets and respirator masks, they seal and
that
label
mask ain't
each
gonna help
sample
you. You're
of
touching
water.
it with your hand.
Yesterday it was by boat. Today they're
this
on
guy's
shore.
wearing these
We
little
said,
cheap
let's
gloves.
just go out
That's
and
no
get
good.
some monitoring ourselves as
Not
well.
enough.
Get some data ourselves.
President of the Galveston Bay Foundation, Bob Stokes, says it's their job over anyone else's to protect the bay.
This is right in our wheelhouse, and we felt we needed to do something active.
Okay, but you need to be wearing PPE, and you don't even need to be standing on the shoreline without wearing a breather and goggles, because it gets into your eyes and it touches your skin too. The mist does. You need to be in full hazmat suit.
Make sure we were getting good data.
So for the second day in a row, they've sampled the ship channel and had it tested.
There was one sample right in front of ITC that had higher
Oh,
levels
great.
than any
It
other
was
sample
right
of
in front of
benzene.
there.
And so you can make a conclusion that likely that came from ITC, but even that sample was below the surface water quality standards.
But after what happened yesterday, they're doing it again.
We've been told generally that there was quite a bit of additional runoff from the site after that contaminant breach.
Cleanup crews are using booms to try to contain the contamination.
The Coast Guard needs
Stokes just
to send
hopes
him out of
it's
there.
enough.
Seeing what happens after today's sampling and the next couple days sampling is even more important.
He expects that sampling to be something they won't stop anytime soon.
I feel like we've got a snapshot, an early snapshot of data that looks okay, but this is a snapshot, and the thing about data and
Arms not
monitoring
covered.
is it needs to continue to occur.
Nothing covered.
The foundation hopes
And
to get
she's-
today's results
that's not good
back
either.
as early as tomorrow, but they say they are concerned that the levels will
Listen.
be higher after yesterday's.
Listen, if you're a reporter, okay, listen, to get the shot, okay, and I get that that's pretty all behind her and all that, don't sacrifice your health for the rest of your life by putting yourself near these chemicals that will kill you just being around them. She's being dosed right now and she doesn't realize it, and she won't until later. Don't do this. It's not smart. You had one fall out, then another one fell out, and you're still out there doing that. Y'all got to stop this. She should be in a full hazmat suit. That stuff's that bad. And there's a whole cloud of it coming down over Houston, and it's going to rain.
Release. Standing for Houston, I'm Janelle Blue to KHU 11
Thousands
News.
and thousands
Thank you,
of
Janelle.
metric
And a
tons
reminder that press conference from the
of this stuff's
ITC
in the
plant
air.
starts tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We'll be there
Let me
streaming
ask
it
you
live
something.
on all of our...
By volume, do you know how many gallons those tanks hold? You know? Look. And each one of them, I mean, each one of them are bad, right? So check this out. One tank is 80,000 barrels, okay? Let's do the math. A barrel is a 55-gallon drum. So you get your calculators at home and you take 55 times 80,000 and you'll see how many gallons. 1 gallon, okay? That's for full capacity before they burnt. Except one tank that was empty. They keep touting that one tank was empty, even though it had residue and it burned. So 1 gallon of water in a gallon jug generally weighs 8 pounds. Okay? 5 to 8 pounds. Somewhere around in there, depending on what kind of liquid it is. There are lighter liquids, believe it or not. So going further from that, there are so many metric tons of this stuff up in the atmosphere that it's like if you had a hot air balloon. There are hot air balloons that could pick up tanks or whatever because they're lighter than air. Yeah, 4.4 million gallons. That's Tommy and Tim MS. Okay? So that's how many million gallons at full capacity would have been in these tanks, but you gotta subtract one tank because one tank was empty for maintenance because it was broken and leaking or whatever, and they pumped it off somewhere else and then they were working on it or just kept it drained. But either way, it doesnn't matter. So just, take away one tank of, 80,000 barrels. So here's the thing. Okay, in the same way that a hot air balloon can pick up probably a tank or whatever, the big Zeppelin had all those people in it. People don't know that's not just the Goodyear blimp with a little basket at the bottom of it, right? So here's what I'm saying. The heat from these flames picked up all of the tons of them fumes and liquid, and then when they coalesce, they act like rain. Rain comes up as a vapor, but then it collects like water and gets heavier, and then it falls and it's heavy. All those tons and tons didn't just disappear when they burned, and they didn't clean burn because it's all black. So the heat lifted it up into the atmosphere, and it's all over Houston, and it's going to rain down black rain. And the chemical is still in there, and it's all those chemicals mixed together now. And if it's cyanide, we're talking cyanide rain. These people need to tell you what is in the damn mystery tanks of 80-6. Here's what you ask them if you're a reporter next time you get them. You grab them by the neck. Step on their neck if you have to, but you get the answer out of them. What is 80-6? What's in it? What's in 80-4? Tell us what is actually in that pie gas, because it doesn't even show up or register in the book. Tell us what's in 80-9 while you're at it. And then 80-10, 80-11, even though this one isn't leaked yet, ask them anyways. 80-11, 80-12, 80-13 that hadn't leaked yet, 80-14 and 80-15, and then you'll be doing reporting. You with me, people? And I'm not knocking you. You just happen to have the knowledge that I just gave you. And find out which one of these mystery tanks has cyanide, or how many of them have cyanide, and is it going to rain down on Houston when it rains? Now you understand why this is Bombshell News and why I'm bringing it to you and what I'm doing here? It's in the book that they should have evacuated. Do I got to show you the book again? I don't think so. I think you get it. There were 47 monitors that they turned off. Why did they turn off the monitors? Because it monitored probably freaking cyanide. It probably monitored so much. How do I have 3 in the room and 4 likes? That's magical. Anyways, I'm just looking at the number. There's more likes than there are people in the room. There's the 4. So understand what I'm saying, okay? If you have a gas cloud of cyanide that's fixing to rain down over Houston, would you not want to know about it? I'd like to know about it. I've already refused loads going down there. I'm not going down there anymore, okay? So, you know, and Tommy and Tim MS put, you know, I'm not sure even what that's about, but yeah, so they've already admitted to over 10 parts per million. They've already admitted to elevated VOC levels. I just showed you a reporter that was standing there that looked like she could have been about a mile away, but it got her and she fell out. There's other people further than a mile away in them houses. It should have been about a 4 to 5 mile evacuation from the whole place. So, do you understand what I'm saying, people? They should have evacuated, and they should still be evacuating. And whenever you go home at night and you're gassed, your house is not a magical chemical free zone. There's no, and you open the door and let it all in there. And if it's cyanide and all this stuff, man, look, I'm done. That's all I got to say. If you have anything to say, I'd appreciate some comments. I'm gonna just play some music, and then you know, I'll hit this and let it show you a live view of what's going on in the situation. But I'll tell you that they are still pumping stuff on it to cool it. They can't pump it off yet. It's still there. Every night it's going to probably leak. They're adding foam. Not a good place to be. This one's 43 minutes ago. I guess they got a live shot. And I guess they still got reporters dying on the scene just to bring you that shot. If you're a reporter, you should have every square inch of your skin should be covered. Period. A full suit. You get out there and you look like you're landing on the moon, that's when you should be reporting out there. So, you know, Tommy and Tim MS, who in that company had the job of watching the computer monitor, exactly, simulating the wind flow plume in case of a chemical smoke release. I had that job at a paper mill 30 years ago. Not only that, who told them to turn off the sensors? Who did they call? Did they call corporate and say we got a leak, and then they called the, you know, the other places and got in touch with the news, and then 8 minutes later somebody told somebody to kill it? They turned off the sensors, and then when the reporter said, well, why were the sensors off? And all there is hashtags on the screen. Somebody entered those hashtags and hit enter, right? They don't just, there's no, as far as I know, if I turn this phone off, if I'm watching something and I just hit the button, you're not gonna see hashtags on this screen. Somebody manually typed in a bunch of hashtags and hit enter as the new data. And that's all they saw. At 5:08, one person at least turned off the sensors, and another person or the same person hit a bunch of hashtags and hit enter on the screen. And so that was the data you got, was hashtags. After it was off the chart. Why? I think it's because of the farm that it was actually, the part of that farm or whatever that it was actually registering was the cyanide or whatever the bad stuff was that they're not telling you about in mystery tank, either mystery tank 80-6. See, because you got to figure, this is the fire starter right here is what they're saying, right? This is the 80-7. Something happened at the same time this was on fire, and they wanted to say that they had however many and then a few more caught on. Okay, that's where it started, and this one caught on fire. I would say that the mystery gas that's really bad that they don't want you to know about and they turn off the sensors was either 80-4, or they told you about 80-5 being xylene, or 80-6. Why did they tell you this one but they didn't tell you this one? Why did they tell you this one, they didn't tell you this one? Why didn't they tell you so 80-6, 80-9, 80-12, 80-11, 80-10, even though it's okay? These tanks caught on fire and burned that stuff, and they don't want to tell you what's in it. And they got busted for cyanide, okay? If one of these tanks is full of cyanide, they don't want you to know it. And it could come back down as rain because the heat, just like a hot air balloon, took it up, right? Just like a hot air balloon can pick up a tank, okay? Those big dirigibles that are Goodyear, those are so heavy, okay? But they go up, you know? This smoke plume brought chemicals up with it that were not even close to being burnt. That's why it was so black. The black was actually those chemicals cooling the air that was super hot from the fire, and it blackens it. Tommy and Tim MS, I want y'all to listen to what this person put, and I appreciate the hell out of this. Tommy and Tim MS put, "God bless you, trucker." Possibly one of the greatest comments ever to anybody. I appreciate that. One other person told me once, "Thank you for being you." I like that one too. But this one means something because you see the work that I put into this, and I hope you understand I had to go online and find the info about them being sued, and they lost. They lost and had to pay over $200,000 out. And then I found some guy on Twitter that put it. I'll put a link to his comment and you can see, and he's some kind of reporter, somebody. And I just recently, I don't know if the Tommy Ann Smith, the MS, I don't know if you're the person that was on Twitter, and I just actually followed a reporter on there. So they have a notification that I'm doing this, and I just want you to understand who, you know, there's people coming in from Twitter, and they're going to be here, and they're going to see this when I drop it as a video. Listen, this stuff is a concentrated chemical, and like I said before, and I'll explain it again, and this is how it was explained to me. If you have, let's see, Tommy M. and Smith MS put, "No, don't have a Twitter, never have." I highly recommend you go on there, because even if you're just watching what's going on, people drop what's really going on and it never makes the news or before it makes the news. Okay, this is why I have this and how I'm able to put this up and tell you about it. You need to get out. You need to stay away from this, and if that comes down, either way, it's coming down. The rain's coming down. I would get out of there before that. Even if you have to sleep in your car at a rest area. I told people about showering at truck stops cost you $10, or a trucker can give you one off their card for free. Tommy M. Smith MS, but thanks. I'm just going to start calling you Tommy. Tommy said thanks. So, and get the Trucker Path app, and you'll see where all the Walmarts are and all the truck stops are that get at least 50 miles away from the place. I would go to Dallas and chill. Here's the thing. I actually, you know, there you go. So, listen, this is no joke, and here's how it was explained to me, okay? Now, if you take anything that's called caustic is like an acid, okay? And by the way, white vinegar is something you can wash your body with, and it'll get stuff off of you, and it'll make caustic inert. It'll make it stop burning through your skin. But if you took your hand and put it out, and if you took these chemicals they use, like peroxide, okay? And so for this right here, I want you to understand that I got a bottle of peroxide, okay? This is what you buy at the store. I'm trying to teach you people, so I got a prop here, right? This is what you buy at the store. It says 3% hydrogen peroxide. This is your type of chemical. You can use this in your ears. You can use this, well, I wouldn't recommend it, I'm not saying that, but you know, some people do. They put it on the Q-tip, clean their ears. So people use this in different type of, when they get, you know, wounds or this or that as a wash, you know, whatever you want to use this for. This is a chemical that is safe for humans to use on the outside of their body. However, it's 3%. Did you see the 3%? 3% means diluted, so that it's only 3%. The rest of it's water and who knows what else to make it inert. Listen, people, you get a tank load of that shit and you put anything of it out on your hand, okay, the chemical that is concentrated, and it will eat right through your hand immediately and you will die. That fast. You will die. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, or hey, I'll see you next week, Bob. Okay, we'll see you next week after you get out of the hospital. Okay? This stuff is the devil. All of it. And it all has that kind of effect on the human body. Even though it's made for one thing, it's a concentrated level of something. It acts like a nerve agent. It acts like a neurotoxin. This one guy said it felt like he'd grabbed his spine and he was having problems breathing, but it felt like something grabbed his spine. Everybody's going to have different effects. It's going to take, some of this is going to be extended and take a long time to get to. Okay? So, if you don't mind, in the best interest of your children that are bleeding from the nose, get them the hell out of there and don't spend another night there. If I donate 10,000, will you delete YouTube? What does that even mean? Shifting Cabernet. If you donate 10,000, will I delete what, my YouTube channel? I'll donate 10,000. I'll tell you, you couldn't pay me enough. This is my channel and I own it. People have tried to buy it from me. They've tried to buy it and make me drop videos every day and say that you're going to be ours and you're going to be collaborating with us and we'll pay you or whatever. And no thank you. You know what I'm saying? If you want to donate for the betterment of man or whatever, that's great. But this right here is my job. It's my job to communicate the risk. Placards are to communicate the risk, and they're not communicating the risk, so I'm communicating the risk. I'm doing my job. You know what I mean? Let's see. Oh yeah, I remember when you mentioned pure peroxide the other day, so I looked up and some guy was putting it on leather and it would combust into flames. Oh yeah, that stuff ain't no joke, and he shouldn't have been able to even handle it. I don't know who he was, but they shouldn't even gave it to him, because then you have the residue and then it's a spill. I'm being for real. I don't know if he was using a water dropper and maybe he was pouring something on it to make it inert and then to dilute it to 3% like this stuff right here is, you know what I'm saying? But no, I'm not. If you're asking me, am I a sellout? No, I'm not a sellout. No, you can't pay me to shut down my channel. And you know, if there's if anybody has a problem with what I'm doing, then they've been paid off by a company and they're just a shill, and they would put themselves above public health and safety and this kind of stuff. And you know, they can eat one. You know, they can pick whichever side of my tail they want to kiss. Pick a spot. You know what I mean? I'll reserve one for them. You know, so it's one of those things. No, you know, you can't. Your moral compass has to keep pointing north. Okay, and you have to have your freedom of speech. To the point where you don't hurt other people, but I'm helping other people because I'm telling you what you need to do. Instead of dosing yourself over and over every night, you should have left day one, but they didn't tell you that. Now, I've done told you everything. Every day I've been telling them from day one. Day one, I said that it would have to be isolated and you'd have to do an evacuation. Fred Flintstone put, happy no collusion day. Okay, I'm with it. I like the no collusion thing. I would say happy you're still alive in Texas day, and I would say it's a good day to celebrate by getting out of Deer Park and maybe check out Houston. I mean, check out Dallas. I'm sorry. Leave Houston, check out Dallas. Shifting Cabernet put, this is an interesting channel. Yeah, isn't it interesting that somebody would actually, you know, get up here and you know, tell it how it is. I tell it, man. You know, I'm bringing it to you live. So anyways, I'm about to get off this thing in a few minutes. I know I've done got some people in the room, but I want this to go up as a video. If you are on Twitter, share this on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, go on Twitter, start a Twitter account, and share this on Twitter. And share my entire playlist that says, this is going into a playlist called Deer Park whatever, and I put, like Deer Park Chemical Leak Fire whatever, and I put, don't say evacuation. You know what I mean? That's what they're saying. Anything, what's a Twitter? Yeah, well, Twitter is where all the minds go. People with a brain that go on there and they comment and they share knowledge, you know. El Gray put, I appreciate what you're doing, thank you. El Gray, you was up here the other day. Yeah, listen, you need to watch the first part of this if you just got in the room. No lie. I'm wanting to even hit the finish button just for this. Listen, that company, El Gray, and I'm going to tell it for the people that are in the room that didn't hear it because I said it earlier, that company is not telling you what's in the cloud. They're not telling you what's in those tanks. There's all these mystery tanks. Okay, I did this schematic and I'm going to go through it again. But they got sued, and over the last 12 years, they have given out over $200,000 in damages, and some of the spills contained toluene. But this is the part that's important. Some of the spills contained cyanide. Are you listening now? Cyanide. Which one of these tanks, the mystery magical tanks here, has got the cyanide in it that they leaked and burnt? But it didn't really burn. It just pushed up in the atmosphere. It's going to rain back down on you in black rain with all the other chemicals. Okay, so let's go over them again. 80-1 is naphtha. 80-2, gas blend stock, but they don't want to call it pie gas anymore because now they're trying to not lose their ability to have it as a secret chemical, you know what I'm saying, and they're gonna have to give what's in it, so they're calling it gas blend stock. Xylene is in it. 80-3, gas blend stock, xylene also. Okay, 80-4, mystery tank, right? 80-5, xylene. 80-6, another tank they don't want to tell you about. Here's where it started, the fire started, and it burned this one. These around it are so bad. In this complex, they keep all the bad stuff because it's specialized, so that you've got a tanker driver pulling up with, you know, some crude oil or something. You want him to be way over there. Maybe one of these tanks was empty, okay, and maybe one of them contained, they said, some kind of oil that's used as a, you know, manufacturing like oil, like WD-40 something, fine. But it was in with the bad stuff. This is the bad section of the whole plant. This is their worst nightmare, and it happened. They don't want to tell you about what's in 80-9, that also caught fire that first day. 80-12, 80-11, 80-10, 80-13, but these two have not leaked so far as we know, but they're not on fire. The side of them burnt a little bit, but they're all right, I guess. Still contained, I guess. 80-14, 80-15, like I said, 80-11 and 80-12. We need some reporters to ask them what's in these other ones. Ask them how come people are suiting up in full chem suits, but they've got reporters out there in no chem suits. Ask them why they didn't want to, I don't know, they didn't, somebody's coming by here. They didn't want to evacuate. They didn't want to give people the news, and now there's babies on here bleeding through the nose, and they don't know what's wrong with them, and the parents don't know, and they're going up to doctors who know, because if it's cyanide, you have to wear a gas mask, and the woman on there was wearing a gas mask. And if you give mouth to mouth, you have to have not just a special plastic piece, but it has to be a one-way check valve, or it will kill you too, and you will be dosed with cyanide and you will die. Are you with me, people? A lot of that stuff went in that cloud, and it's fixing to rain down on Houston and all the whole area. Get the hell out. That's all I got for you. What can I say? It's my job to communicate the risk. I'm communicating the risk. This, I had this. I'm going to go over this one more time, okay, for the people who don't know about me. Look, ain't nothing but a book, right? Well, maybe I know a little something. Maybe I've read it a couple times, right? You might say that. I'm gonna show you something. This is my 2012 book, and I had a little rip in it, and this is just a spare. Okay, I have it, but I use it so much, and I'm marked down. You need to get one of these from a truck stop. Go to the TA truck stop, call them, look them up on Trucker Path and call them. But ID, you can look it up by the name in the blue section. Just go by the name and look up in here. I already gave you the guide response, which is this red section of what you need to do in case of a spill. And I told you the 153 guide. This I just told them in this video. Open it up to here and find that guide. You don't even have to look it up by the name. You can do what I told you to do. Okay. Now look on the right side when there's a fire. Now this 2012 book, it's got a rip in it. You see, right? Okay. This is my new 2012 book, right? It hadn't changed, right? But I've had this book, people, since it was this book. 2004. No one will have this 2004. Okay, even though it's about the same, it's outdated because it's been that long that I've had it. If you have a book like this in your hand and you've run caustic and you understand what's going on, you've pumped off your own loads and run your own pump, then you'll be on my level and understand what I'm talking about, and you will answer. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, you have one of those, well, turn to guide page 154, you know, guide 154. So you'll see what I'm talking about. Cyanide. Listen, they have already legally been busted with leaking cyanide, not just having it. It's somewhere on their farm. It may be in one of these tanks that leaked, and they don't want to tell you about it, and it's going to rain down on you. I already told you, get out of the area as soon as there's not a shelter in place. You need to leave and go vacation somewhere, or just start over somewhere else. Done told you about Deer Park with this. Your kids are bleeding from the nose. Get them out of there. Get rid of your clothes. Don't run your air conditioner in your car. Run it on in circulate, and don't even run it then. Clean it out and change your filter in there. Wash it all up. Maybe even run some vinegar in this thing. I don't care if it smells like pickles. It'll be cleaner. Some white vinegar is what it is. The point is, you get out. You know what I'm saying? And you, at least for 2 weeks, until the rain comes down and washes all this stuff out. But it's coming down with gas. It's coming down with some bad stuff in the rain, in the cloud. Okay? So I told you before about it, but this was before I knew that one of these tanks here, one of these magical mystery tanks that they don't want to tell you about, may have cyanide in it. And that rains down on them, not good. They've got to tell you what's in these tanks, and they're not. Why did they shut off the sensors? Because it was an elevated risk, an elevated level of what? Okay, they don't want to tell you what got released. So, like I said, when they ever tell us, and when I find out, I will look it up in the book, and I'll tell you how far away you got to stay. But I did look up cyanide, and I got you on the 154, and it goes to another table, and it recommends another table. Now, I'm going to make a couple of comments. I'm going to check out a couple of comments here, because I had to make, let's see, I'll go back to here. What is it? Twitter. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you, Oh Great, for the comment. Let's see. Shifting Cabernet. Is this a channel where you solve mysteries and discuss stuff? And are you a spy? Yes, I'm a spy. I'm in your computer right now, and I'm looking at you through your camera. And I'm going to video you, and I'm going to put you in my next video. You'll be in my next live, and I'm going to make you dance like I made that Loves, or that mechanic there. Like I made him dance, and they put his clothes up the flagpole and put dance music to it. Yeah, so you're next, buddy. And then I'm probably put you in the penalty box. I got a penalty box, by the way. You might want to check it out before you give me too much of a hard time, right? So let's see here. I ain't being too hard on you yet. Let's see what we got here. Humble is north. Not sure how far. My husband doesn't seem too concerned about it reaching us. If you don't know how far it is, okay, from you, then what you want to do is you can use Trucker Path or any app. You can use Google Maps on your phone and just type in Deer Park or type in Houston. Houston is right next to Deer Park. So you can use Google navigation, right, and hit that and go in, and you can plan a route to it. Or you can use Trucker Path, and I just told about this app because it tells you where you might be able to sleep until you get a place. Trucker Path, that little Frogger looking app right there, you hit that, Trucker Path. It shows all of the Walmarts, all the truck stops, everywhere you can park. You can shower at a truck stop for 10 bucks, or you can ask a driver for you can get one off your card and give you one. Then you can change your clothes and start over. Look, what do you want me to say? Okay. Have you ever heard of a place called Chernobyl? People moved out. You know what I mean? Okay. So let's see here. It depends on how many miles it is from you, though. On Humble, I would say Humble. If it's 50 miles, I would say you're good. If it's 25, I'd say I'd be suspect of that rain and when it's going to come down. If you see black rain, I would just split for real. And don't turn your air conditioner on your car blowing into you and get to a car wash. Wash that nasty stuff off. Change your filter in your car and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Shifting Cabernet. You got some good info. I'll try to research this. Well, there's a guy that tweeted it on Twitter about cyanide. Look him up. I'll put a link when I can. Maybe the metal was different and cyanide was in there. No. Nope. Chemical. I have one of those. Looks like I'm gonna have to move out. Well, it depends on how close you are to that, but I would say I would leave that area for at least 2 weeks till they work this out, because every night you're getting gassed. Every single night. Let's see. No, they don't. They won't trust me. They ain't spilling any beans. Holy she. I'm out. Chill, man. Hee. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I understand that with maps. Just wondering how far it's drifted in that direction. The entire smoke plume went west, okay? And then it spread out so much that it's like encompassing a, if I hazard a guess, 30 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, you know, how big the storm would be that has a lot of stuff in the clouds, maybe 20 miles, 30 miles. I keep getting bad connection, but look at what it's doing to me. I think maybe a truck passed me or something. There's no telling. 20 or 30 miles around the Houston area where it was. So, let's see. I think you should go there and put flex tape on the leaks. They wanted me to go there, and I told them no. No, I didn't just tell them no. I told them hell no. So, you know, I mean, they didn't. It's not that, you know, I can be told what to do. They offer me a load, and I'm like, yes or no. I'm owner operator. Company drivers pretty much have to go where you said. That's why I told them though, don't sleep at that place. If you have to go to a place and you have to go down there, I wouldn't even go down there. You seen the cars going by, you saw the reporter got gassed and she fell out. Okay. Then she tried to recover and come back and stuff. And she said she was asthmatic. Let me go back to that video. I want to show that. And I'm gonna kill this out. I'm gonna get off of this. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. I want to go back to that live and I'm gonna play it real quick. That other one. Let's go back. I thought that phone a while ago was a TV. Well, I use it like it's a TV. I really do. I have to. I've got it hooked up through my audio in my truck on Bluetooth. The sound is phenomenal, by the way. Bluetooth is really good. It's way louder than anything else, but let's see what we got here. History. I want to see where that reporter fell out again, and then we're going to go further, and we're going to see where she tries to recover and go back on there, and she's like, I think it's because they said, hey, you don't get paid if you don't do this live. I think it was something like that, and she's sitting there getting gassed, you know? It's crazy. So let's see here. I thought you're in a house, you're in a truck. Yes, I'm a truck driver. I'm an owner operator. This is trucking stuff. This is my channel. This is a truck driver's water cooler. It's where we tell about what's really going on that doesn't make the news, or that's something you might have heard about that's important to either trucking or life in general. And life in general is not dying in general by being gassed. So I try to tell that so you can still have life in general. You know what I mean? So let's see here. This one, who's top? Deer Park Firefighter. I want to say it's that one. Yeah, the live. That one's the 13. I'm trying to find this one. One was KHOU. Wait, what is channel about? Then I'm confused. It's water cooler talk. There's no water cooler for truck drivers to get to. People used to take lunch and go around a water cooler. This is Operation Hot Biscuit. I'm telling you what's going on, okay, in the world, whether you knew about it or not. Stuff you might not have heard about on Twitter, stuff that's actually going on that will affect you, and especially affect truck drivers. So let's see here. I'm saying that you don't want to go down there and haul a load down there and die sleeping at the truck stop because you got gassed while you slept, and they, you know, kill you softly with chemicals, right? So let's see what we got here. I'm gonna find this though. One of these, that's the live. That's ABC like Houston. I think this is it. So at least 2 different reporters got gassed. And I'm talking gassed like, this is the kind of gas that if they wanted to, this is lethal. You know how they've got lethal injection. This is lethal inhalation or lethal ingestion. And if you're grilling out and you've got a burger outside right now, I wouldn't eat it. Are you listening to me, people? This stuff gets into you, and then you dose yourself. Shifting Cabernet is not. This is not one of your game channels. No, it's yeah, and I appreciate you making a comment like that too. And the truth is, it's not a game. This is real. You know, this is what was going on here with that smoke cloud. So and I appreciate you showing up in here, because I'm telling you, it's my job to tell everybody. Even if you're, you know, joking around, so it's my job to tell you what's going on in your world that might kill you, or you may want to know about a wreck so you don't get held up in it and be caught up in a backup. So yeah, and by the way, and I got haters, and they, you know, whatever, everybody's welcome. You know, bring it. Come on in. I don't even kick people out. It takes a lot to really make me, you know, upset with somebody. So the thing is, because it's my job to communicate the risk of stuff, but it's also my job to tell you what's going on in the world in this, because I started Operation Hot Biscuit. They had a operation that was called Operation Hot Musket. People were talking about it, but they weren't supposed to be talking about it. So Operation Hot Musket, I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm going to start my own operation. If I'm going to be a digital soldier, if I'm going to help people, and I'm going to, you know, bring real truth and news, then I'm going to have an operation name. If I'm an operational, you know, if I'm going to be a digital soldier, right? You got to have an operation. So this is Operation Hot Biscuit, you know. So let's see what we got here. I'm asleep listening to this now. I'll analyze it while I'm dreaming. Okay, dude. Well, I hope you wake up if you're around that area. You know, that stuff will put you to sleep for good. Dirt nap, 6 feet under. Bad stuff. That's why I'm bringing it to you. So I'm waiting for on this thing that reporter does come back, but for a while this is where they did actually show the tanks, and I missed this part. I would have drawn the picture off of this, but actually they didn't tell on this one which way was north, south, east, and west. What I did was, the other lady on there, she admitted that the one tank that they kept touting, that 80-7, they said there was a breach in the wall. So I was like, okay, and it's right next to the wall. So I said, okay, so I drew a wall, and then made a breach, and I drew a tank. I said, wait a minute, let's figure out what else is going on here. And then here's the channel, is what they said. Okay, fine. So then they said it was the north wall. I said, great, drew north on it, and then I oriented it, right? And then I'm like, okay, that's north. Well, you can't tell from the helicopter shot which way's north, south, east, and west, but I knew how many tanks there were. So that's number 7. So I said, okay, and I drew the other tanks, and I'm like, wait a minute, either it's here or it's here, whether it's north, south, east, or west, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 80-7, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 80-7. Either way, I'm right? And then my math brain kicks in. It's this thing I have, okay? It helps me with math in my head, so I don't know how to explain it. So then I'm like, okay, one of these is 80-1. Can't count them from down here and go to 7. One of these is 80-1. These two are unaffected, so then at that point, I have to get back on that call. At that point, I'm like, it can't be this one or this one. That's 80-1. And then you take what they tell you about what's in it. 80-1, naphtha, gas blend, xylene gas blend, you know, xylene, mystery tank, maybe cyanide, who knows, right? That was somebody trying to call, you know, and I ain't got no time for that right now. So then mystery tank, even though these two are not leaking, but some of this went up into the air and it's coming back down in rain. It's coming back down, people. So this guy's showing this. Let's see. So hold on, let me check this out. I've got a couple of comments. El Gray put, I remember that operation. I heard that caller that first reported it. He was called in for domestic while on home leave with a new baby. Yeah, so I'm just like, I didn't even want to talk about it, but I was like, well, the name's out there. I talk about things that have already hit the news. Okay, that's how I do it. so that I'm not put stuff up. Joe Gardner, well, here's what's going on, dude. I'll give you the lowdown. Out of all of these tanks, dude, okay, hello, yeah, I got you. Out of all of these tanks that they put, okay, I figured out that there's a whole bunch of missing ones that they don't tell you what's in them. And I found out on Twitter, and I found out because I checked it on the internet, but I found it to be true on Twitter by a dude who was a lawyer and another guy who was a reporter, that in the past 12 years, the ITC company that had this chemical fire has been sued and had to settle and paid over $200,000, at least $200,000, in the past 12 years for chemical leaks. One included toluene, and another one included this new gas, mystery gas, right? Guess what they got on that plant somewhere that leaked before and they got sued, and it's in the legal papers? Cyanide. Cyanide, dude. Guide, you know, I told the guide, it's like 157, 154. It's crazy. Whatever. Worst of the worst. Look, and it went up with that smoke plume. And see, here's where the reporter fell out. Yeah, you put wow, yeah, or whoa, yeah, either way, same thing, right? Same sentiment. So let's see if the reporter comes back.
It wasn't sealed in the foam, so I knew that this was a very active situation, and the possibility for reignition was a very real, real possibility.
Okay,
and so
check this out. Joe Gardner just made a comment, and I'm gonna read this. Joe Gardner says, people are going to die. Joe Gardner, you're exactly right. And that's why I was telling them that they need to do an evacuation on the first video. But I'm putting this up, and I've told some people on Twitter, and some people coming here, and they're seeing this, and they're like, oh boy, yeah, evacuate. I would evacuate within about, I don't know, 10, 20 miles of anywhere that smoke cloud went. I would evacuate all of this other stuff, you know, and forget about the stay in place and breathe that crap that's already in your house and the residuals everywhere. You're supposed to take your clothes off and get rid of them. It's per the guide. The guidebook itself says that anybody that's affected by this stuff, you're supposed to take their clothes and shoes off of them, even if it makes them naked. It's for their best interest, okay? And you wash their eyes out, you know, for at least 20 minutes and hope that you're saving them from more damage is what you're doing. And then you're going to get them to fresh air first off, but then do all those things, and you're going to be wearing gloves while you do it if possible so you don't get gassed. And then cyanide, though, cyanide, you got to use a one-way check valve to give them mouth to mouth. Most people have a plastic little insert for mouth to mouth, but they don't have the one-way check valve in the middle. It's a very rare thing to have a one-way check valve. Maybe if you're a firefighter, you can comment and say different, say, wait, no, we got all kinds of them. I don't have one. You know what I'm saying? Look, man, in my IFAC and everything I've got nothing. Not no one-way check valve. I've got the kick and stomp, you know. That's what you can do. Kick them and see if they're all right. Stomp on them. You know, you can't take the chance of giving them mouth to mouth at that point, right? So what more can you do? You know, I've got a tourniquet. Got everything I could have in a pack. Yeah, it's the worst of the worst, and they're not even telling you what could even be worse than cyanide. They are not a gasoline manufacturer blending plant like they want to hide under the guise of. Okay, they want to call everybody their neighbors and their friends, right, that are in there. They want to say that, oh, look, we're all in this together. We're together, we're friends, we're going to community. Yeah, it's a Japanese company that has chemicals there, and the Texas governor tweeted about them saying they will pay for this, you know. They turned off the sensors not because of the levels. It's because of the levels of what? You get it, people? They're trying to hide from you what they gassed you with. There you go. What more can I say? I am communicating the risk. That's my job. There you go. One of many jobs. So I'm gonna get off this thing in just a bit. I'm gonna give y'all a few minutes to make a comment. I'm gonna turn up some music. Actually, I want to play the rest of this first. I want to see what this lady, she comes back up and she makes excuses for what was wrong. Let's see. Joe Gardner put, I work as the #1 operator at the Warren, Pennsylvania refinery. I was a firefighter as well, training at the best training in the country, Texas A&M. Then tell me, Joe Gardner, did you have a one-way check valve to breathe into people's mouth, or did you even know that cyanide was a gas in a chemical form that was in a concentrated level that they're just chilling in a tank waiting to kill you softly with it? Did you ever have a one-way check valve breather? Because that's awesome. I didn't know they existed. I just looked them up in the book because I just found out they had a cyanide, right? 5 minutes ago. He put yes. Dude, you need to sell them. You need to send some down there to Texas, to Deer Park. They're going to need them. They got leaks on the way every night. And now when the rain comes, it's going to knock that foam loose too. So there's going to be more of that stuff. Even the stuff they don't want to tell you about in Mystery 8 other tanks. So nobody else knows about this yet, is why nobody's talking about this yet. I'm hoping that one of those reporters asked these questions. There's supposed to be a press conference on Monday. They were already shown in court documents to have had, and you could look it up, I guess, if you're a reporter, to have had cyanide, and it leaked, and they were sued for it. So, and toluene that leaked before. So the question, which all of it's bad, all of it's just as deadly as the other one. So, you know, I guess the magic question is, Monday in the conference, is anybody going to ask them these questions? Let's see. We also have to declare a state of, I think you want to say a state of emergency. We should. I think that when that rain comes back down with mystery gases and stuff, Houston is going to have effects. You've already got thousands in the hospitals, what they're saying. I said it was going to be thousands from day one. Now, I didn't know that it was going to be like 200 and then 400, and that they were going to have all these different individual sites, and they were going to not maybe count those, and some people are in the hospital. But you'll be in the hospital 1,000 deep. It's my understanding, someone else made the comment thousands, so I'm going with it, because I believe mathematically it's likely that after day 2 you had, you know, 200 deep, and the one guy had a wristband that said 117 on it, and he was waiting, and they were on number 70. So I'm sure that they were in about the 200 to 500 range then. So I'm saying thousands, like more than just 1,000 easily now. And so someone already mentioned that, so I'm like, yeah, I can pretty well believe that, and probably say that that's just about fact, you know. So if they're in the thousands now, when that rain comes down, it's gonna be worse, you know. So something is going on with these trucks out here, man. People are moving and shaking. Had some dude beat on my door earlier and wanted some money. I told him, sorry, you got the wrong door. You need, that guy down there has got a sharper truck than I got. What can I do, man? Okay, he gave me some BS story. Said he wanted some oil and money for a tire. It was crazy. Joe Gardner put cyanide is extremely dangerous. Yes, sir, it is extremely deadly, you know. And that's, like I said, that's why I'm communicating the risk. Listen, you people out there, you need to go to a truck stop and pick you up one of these books, man. They're probably about 20 bucks, and call the TA and see if they have one, and then look it up by the name in the blue section and start from there. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. Good stuff, right? Joe Gardner had a thicker book than I have, because if he was a firefighter, they get thicker books. Tells them more info, right? I'm just giving them a guide number, and then they look it up in their bigger book, and they're like, ooh, okay, well, and then they're telling me to get out. Then they're evacuating me at that point, you know. I mean, I haven't had this happen, but I never had one spill, not one, you know. The one guy, he says, you perfect bastard, like that, you know. I ain't gonna say it too loud, but you get what I'm saying. And yeah, I said, well, it is what it is, you know. It takes me longer. I wasn't making the money that guy was making, but he was, you know, having little coffee cup issues, you know what I'm saying? About the size of a coffee cup is what he said, you know, and that way he didn't have to report it or whatever, and they, you know, had buckets or what. Look, there's, you know, it's zero tolerance, you know, but even then you got a bucket underneath the thing and it goes into something else, whatever. So I'm saying, they went to pumping this thing off. As far as I know, they're not pumping it, and it's still being watered down and foamed up.
People to continue to be cautious, to continue.
I'm gonna play this some more. I wanted to see, you know, where this lady tries to get back up there and act normal.
they're serious.
After she was puking and choking and everything from the gas.
Yeah, definitely. And I can see from the image. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like when we were dealing with this early on in the week, the plume was rising high.
Let me get to where she...
the major one that we're concerned about is
back on camera.
because it is a carcinogen.
Yeah, they're all carcinogens.
Well, but all of this is a major concern because it appears...
It took a while for her to even get where she was going to get back on that camera. You can watch her die slowly from the effects of what just gassed her.
Within the ITC facility, remember,
daily probably for the next however many years until it affects her and finally gets her down. It's really messed up. They don't tell these people, they just put them out there.
Just before 4 o'clock.
They did everything but to get back to that reporter for like a long time.
So that is just not enough wind to really... As a matter of fact, it almost appears to be...
I'll try to find it, and I'm looking for it. Let's see what we got here.
Are headed into the Houston Ship Channel. That was the story that we had for you.
Let's see.
Let's also get back out to the
this was before the ditch.
We have Stefania Acoli.
Yeah, that's when the wall broke right next to that tank. Oh, wait, they got back to Stefania Nicole. Yeah. Hold on a second. That was the one that had the gas problem.
To get that bulldozer, looks like dump sand.
Let's see here.
That ditch off from being able to make its way with those chemicals into Tucker Bayou. Great work as usual. Thanks a lot, Don.
I'll read that in a second.
Let's also get back out to the scene on the ground right now. I believe we have Stefania.
We have Stefania
Acoli
back.
Reporting throughout the
week.
We have her back,
people. After she fell out.
Stefania, I know it's been pretty tough for you because the fire reignited. They've got crews ushering them out of the way as well, and so you've had to move.
They put a mask on her.
What's the latest?
Yeah, they had to move.
Yeah, we just got moved back a few hundred yards here, so we're probably about a little bit more than half a mile away from the fire here, but you can still...
A few hundred yards. She just got gassed, right? She should be a mile away from the area that's pooling with the same gas that gassed her, and those cars are coming this way and blowing it with the cars, right, to her. She should be a mile away. They shouldn't even be able to see the smoke from the camera, but it'd be a bad shot, right? They put a mask on her, right? Why'd they put the mask on her? It's not just for breathing out. Pretty sure they got an idea that when she goes to the doctor, she's gonna want to wear that mask in case it was cyanide. You see what I'm saying? Like that other woman was.
See the cloud of smoke kind of pouring.
A dust mask is not a chemical mask. It does nothing.
Down just a little bit here. I can tell you, the first cloud of smoke was coming from the right-hand side, a tank over there to the right, and then at one point it appeared 2 tanks were on fire, or 2 separate areas, and you can still see where the sky is dark from that other fire that started back there. Not clear if this is a tank or what it may be, but it's just, we have crews rushing down Independence here. We are being moved back from the scene here. It's starting. The smell is getting a little bit stronger.
Smell is getting stronger. If you smell it at all, you've been gassed.
We've seen people leaving in trucks, so it appears that all of the surrounding areas are getting evacuated as well. But we know that the area was already under a shelter in place because of that dike wall that collapsed. But the
I'll get that comment in a second. Thank you, Joe.
So how it looked earlier this week when several of those tanks were on fire. But the good news is we don't see a cloud of smoke as thick as it was about an hour ago. It is very much so lightening up. It's still dark in the sky, but nothing protruding heavily from those tanks, and they're that field area.
All right, Stefania, great reporting there. Let me ask you a question. I can tell you've got that mask as well, which is going to be greatly needed right now. Do you possibly smell anything in the air?
I can't. I have the mask because I'm asthmatic myself, so I like to keep it on when I'm not talking to you guys. But I can't really tell what the smell is, but there is definitely a smell that was not here when we first arrived here to the scene. It started to get a little bit stronger as that fire started, but I can't really tell you what it is. It's my first experience with a chemical plant fire.
All right, Stefania Acoli live.
She's making excuses for it. It's her first experience with a chemical plant fire. Are you with me, people? Do you see what I'm saying? Because she doesn't know. She's not trained that that stuff is so deadly that she should be running for her life right now. You know? And so she just got gassed and they moved her. She was throwing up, puking and everything else, right? And then she gets back up and she's like, oh, it's just my first chemical fire. There is no there's no ever time to be out there. The first thing she did was rub her nose. Then she's rubbing on her arms, and immediately when she's rubbing on her arms, she fell out and started throwing up and choking and could not breathe, and they had to help her away. And you could hear, even though they were still showing this video, her choking and throwing up and coughing off the side of the camera. I'll put the link up to this video, and this is a good little video, and it showed it. And I could have took some of the information off that tank farm that he showed and actually come up to the same conclusion I did, and it would have been easier than me waiting until they told me that there was a north wall and everything I drew. But see what I'm saying though, she didn't know. But you know, back here is where she fell out, and the trucks were driving past it. They should have quarantined or quadranted off, that's the right word, cordoned off the area when this happened, and they should have never let any of the trucks through.
Was just getting back into place, and now it appears that we are back to square one, Chauncey and Myra. As you can see from this very devastating image,
she grabs her face and falls
black
out.
Cloud of smoke protruding from the tank, and a lot of flames covering that tank as well. It's not clear which tank this is, but we just know that it's just not good at all.
Well, that's crazy. My chair, my feet, and my radio makes noises. They squeak when I go down the road.
To the scene, I
would
imagine that you know, fire department will also be rushing to the scene.
I need to move this
shortly. What are you seeing there on the ground level?
I like the way this camera's set up now. I got a new mount.
We have two visuals here. We have Stefania Coley, they're reporting, and on the other side of your screen, you
wipes
can
her nose. She's rubbing her arms. See, she's rubbing her arms. Okay, and then she fell out.
You can already see that huge plume of smoke that's going up in the air just behind the Houston skyline. So that in itself is just crazy to see, and I'm sure a lot of people that are seeing this right now, you see that big cloud back there? That's the fire, and it took only a matter of minutes. We saw this in the newsroom. It started sparking back up. We saw the flame, and just
in there is her choking and stuff, but when she's talking, like I said, this is one of the ones that got gassed.
Be put out, and we don't have to worry about
She's talking.
People appear to have just been starting to get comfortable. Businesses had reopened today. We know much of yesterday, Deer Park, Galena Park, they were under a shelter in place.
This is going up, but a cloud behind her right here.
This was still under a shelter in place as of a couple of hours ago because that dike wall collapsed. But right now, as of today, much of Deer Park was just getting back into place, and now it appears that we are back to square one, Chauncey and Myra. As you can see from this very devastating image, this big, thick black cloud of smoke protruding from the tank, and a lot of flames covering that tank as well. It's not clear
the cars
which
are blowing it this
is,
way,
but we just know that it's just not good at all.
Right here.
Live here on camera, we did notice police there rushing to the scene. I would imagine that
asking her questions.
Will also be rushing to the scene here shortly. What are you seeing there on the ground level?
Well, I want to point out we have two visuals here. We have Stefania Coley, they're reporting, and on the other side of your screen, you can see
her arms. Then she grabs her face.
If you guys look very closely, you can already see that huge plume of smoke that's going up in the air just behind the Houston sky.
I'll read some comments here, and I'm just gonna listen to some music here for a second. We'll talk, you know, put it on the back, and then I'm gonna get off this thing. I'll put up as a video. So we may be looking at cyanide that they haven't told us about. We don't know. We don't know because they still haven't told us about it. You know, it's that magical mystery, nasty that they're messing with us with. You know, that one company. So I don't know if they're telling any of the law enforcement about it. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what info they have. They handed out some kind of a flyer when they were doing it, but truckers need to know so we don't drive down there. You get my point, people? You don't want to be hauling freight down there because then you're out of hours and you're like, I made a delivery, I'm going there, I'm sleeping there, and every night there's an event and the ceiling comes down too, and then they have a leak at the same time and it keeps it along, and then it goes out to the people. So I'm going to read these comments real quick. All right. Let's see what we got. I'm gonna go back to a few of these really good comments that I appreciate you, Joe Gardner. I really appreciate it. Let's see. We also have to declare a state of emergency, basically. Cyanide is extremely dangerous. Yup. Cyanide can be a colorless gas such as hydrogen cyanide, HCN, or cyanogen chloride, which that's 2-bond, but that's cool. CNCI, or a crystal form such as sodium cyanide, which is a double bond, or potassium cyanide. And potassium cyanide, yeah, that's what they give, as far as I know, that's what they give criminals when they take them out. But let's see. Cyanide sometimes is described, potassium cyanide, KCN. Cyanide sometimes is described as having a bitter almond smell, but it does not always give off an odor. Yeah, that reporter said she didn't smell anything, it just hit her. And not everyone can detect this odor. CDC facts about cyanide. Those odors are very similar to what you have in natural gas in your home. They are added oftentimes so they can detect them. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. Joe Gardner put, very sad. Yeah, she should have had on a full chemical suit. And they're not upwind. They are not upwind. They are downwind, because the wind is changing, okay? But also, they're to the side, and it comes out like this and spreads out people way wide, and it can drop down and change. If it changes, it's like a tornado. You want to be where it's not a side view of it going this way. If you're on a side view going this way, you're getting gas too, man. And that just because it's going up, the gases are pooling everywhere in a circle around the whole thing. Get out for a mile, starting out at a mile, then you go 5 miles. You know, you don't go up there and be the on-the-scene reporter for that mess, right? So, Joe Gardner put, very sad. Also probably H2S. And, yeah, okay. It smells like rotten eggs. She inhaled, and then she inhaled hydrogen sulfide. That's a new one I should have put on that list. Joe, thank you for that comment. I'm gonna make that another one, because that is a chemical that they might be hiding there, is hydrogen sulfide. I'll put it down the bottom here. Thank you for saying that. Hydrogen sulfide and a question mark. Yeah, and she's sitting there saying, you know, oh, it's okay, it's just this is my first chemical fire. Okay, she just doesn't know. These are kids they're putting out there. Listen, you should never be anywhere around any chemical fire, and if you're smelling any smell of it or waft of it, you have already been hit with it, and it's on your skin already, and it's in your body, and you need to get help. You need to go to the doctor, be checked out, and then you need to note it, and you need to see if you die early from cancer, that you sue them later and don't sign away your rights. That's where you're at. You don't realize it. There's people who won't show any effects until later, and then when they do show an effect, it just takes them out. They've said effects may not be shown until later, period. So anyways, here. Yeah, Joe, and people, I'm gonna get off this thing, but this was, if you could imagine that if they put all of the bad chemicals, like say there was a school for chemicals, and all the good chemicals get to go on a field trip, and all the bad chemicals get put in timeout, right? Okay, so check this out. This is what it would look like if all the chemicals, okay, all the bad chemicals on the planet were put in timeout. This would be the lineup. This is the all-star lineup of the worst things ever, and then they mixed them together. So it's almost like a forbidden experiment of saying, hey, what's the worst thing that could happen is if you took all the worst chemicals on the planet and mix them together and then let them loose into the environment. Well, let's see what that would do. You know what I mean? No one would ever do that. But now we can find out what happens, and we're going to watch that reporter every day, see what happens with her. It's really messed up, man. And they won't even be able to pinpoint down which chemical for at least probably 10 years of her having effects of it. You know, her and the other one. There was another one that was a Chinese lady. They had her out there early in the morning. Worst time to be out there because the ceiling's low. It brings it down. It brings it all down. So, worst time for her to be out there, and they had her out there, and she got affected by it and fell out. So there was, it's my understanding, I think it's 2 different news places. This one said her name and talked about it, and I mentioned her name on this video. Another one said, I believe it was a different name, and said, yeah, the other lady was affected by it and said there was no odor, no smell. People by the thousands are lining up to go to the hospital because their children are in the middle of the night and in the middle of the morning or whatever having nosebleeds, and the house smells like a really bad gas. If there's not a shelter in place, you need to be leaving. And all through this weekend, and you know, just tell them you got Monday off. I just gave you Monday off. Maybe Tuesday, maybe a couple of weeks. Let's see. Joe Gardner put, I agree that they should evacuate all areas in the path of this death cloud. Thank you for telling me that, Joe, because you are certified as a firefighter that's been trained, and your word will hold more weight even than mine, just being a truck driver that has pumped off these chemicals out of a tanker, and I've been trained in them in all kinds of different classes. But you know about public safety and what you're supposed to do even more so because you've got a thicker book. This is my book. I know what book you have, and I've read your book. I don't have your book though, but you know exactly to the T what you're supposed to do. And so listen to Joe, people. He said, I'll read it again, I agree that they should evacuate all areas in the path of this death cloud. So we're talking about, if I was going to guess, 25 miles around everywhere. I would say at least 10 to 25. You know, 10 mandatory, 25 optional. It's a Chernobyl style event. Let's see. So many people are going to die. Joe, you came to the same conclusion I came to 4 days ago, brother. And I'm telling you, if you think I'm just saying this now and I'm some kind of Monday morning armchair quarterback, I told from the book, the knowledge from the book, what you're supposed to do, and if you don't, the effects of the gas. And I said this 4 days ago when it first started. The officials in this town should have done that. A lot of the police officers are telling people to do this and that, but your house is not a magical gas-free zone. People have learned this the hard way by listening to these people who said shelter in place and bringing their babies every morning. Here's what happens. Between the hours of 2 in the morning and 5 in the morning, these gases are being released and people are being affected by it, and they're waking up choking and they can't breathe. They feel like they're going to die, and they're bleeding from their nose, and they don't know what's going on, and they're disoriented, and they also have vertigo and, you know, dizziness and all this. They don't know what's going on, and they fall out, and, you know, this kind of stuff, right? Okay. And then they have to wait until 8 in the morning to call a hotline. That hotline tells them what to do, that at 2 p.m. the mobile doctors are going to be at a certain place. So from 4 in the morning till 2 p.m. if they're still living, they go down there and they get free health care on what they did. And I'm just going to read a couple of comments here that Joe put. He put that so many people are going to die. Yeah, they're going to. And Joe Gardner put, I am certainly certified in, you know, CHA hazmat certified. Yeah. He put hazmat certified. Yeah, a lot of us are. And so we know that it's zero tolerance, people. Zero. Not, you know, man, sorry, that's a loud truck. I got inside and outside noises here. Not 80,000 barrels. You know what I'm saying? Somebody already did the math. I would actually have to scroll down about 1 million comments back. I can do that real quick, but somebody already did the math for me on that. You know, let's see here. Let's see what we got. Somebody did the math here. 4.4 million gallons. I'm writing that down. Appreciate that math. So 4.4 million gallons. And even if the one tank being empty, I'd say minus 80,000 barrels, and then you gotta, let's just say it's 2 million gallons, and let's just say it's 1 million gallons that didn't get burnt, because half of it burned and half of it did not. It was a dirty burn. You see that smoke cloud right there? that is not a clean burn. You know what I'm saying? So all that stuff is up in the air waiting to come back down. And if it's cyanide, we're talking about cyanide rain. Joe Gardner put, I believe that this was an act of terrorism. Other people have said that, Joe, and there was another something that happened on Friday, and another something at another plant, and another something that happened on some kind of a boat down there. And then something happened in China that leaked some of that benzene stuff after this one. There's been some weird stuff going on, but leaks do happen, problems like that do happen, but I don't know. I will tell you that I think it is, what's the word? What would you call it if you didn't do, you know, I'm forced to do an evacuation if something happens. It's my job. I have to evacuate people. That's all there is to it. I would tell them, no, you leave now. I'd run them out and the police would help me, and they would be bound by law to help me, right? So would you call it gross dereliction of duty? What would you call it for these people that don't kick people out? What would you call it for these people not evacuating and saying shelter in place? What does that even mean, shelter in place? You know what I mean? It's getting into their homes. They need to evacuate past that, not just up to that door and then let the neighbor stay there. It's going to happen every single night. Every night, people. Until they've completely pumped that thing out, and it's half full right now. Joe Gardner put, so many chemicals that are toxic are used in refining. Well, see, here's the thing. That's not even a refinery. That's a storage for the nasty stuff that they're scared to keep on a refinery. That's basically what they do. That's their job. If you got something that's so nasty that you wouldn't even have it on your refinery because the insurance would make your insurance go through the roof, you take it to ITC and you put it down there. And then they let it out. Which it happened. It was an accident. I get it. But, and they did whatever. At this point, they need to buy a vessel, a water-borne vessel, a tanker. Yeah, Joe Gardner put in big print, gross negligence. Yeah, it really is. But I mean, there's got to be a word for it, though, that says that these people were, you know, bad judgment. I would say it's a bad judgment to not evacuate. If the book says that one truckload is supposed to evacuate, then how many more miles out should they be evacuating? They don't have some special privilege just because they're a company that says, oh, we can evacuate if we want to. That's not how this works, people. That might be what they're doing, but that's not how this works. So I don't know where they get off telling people to have their kids bleed from the nose and keep going home and stay there. I call bullshit. I say it's wrong and they need to stop it now because they're dosing them over and over and over every night. It's going to be worse when it rains out of that tank farm, and it's going to be worse when it rains for the gas that's already up in the atmosphere coming back down. They already got clumps of this stuff falling. Don't touch it with your hands. Don't touch the dust on your car with your hands. Wear gloves. If you do wash your car and you have to use it or whatever, I would say, like, you can't use your air conditioner at this point because it's in your ducts and stuff, and you want to change your filter and you want to wear gloves while you're doing any of that, then throw away your clothes when you go somewhere else in a different town, take a shower and put new clothes on, and use vinegar on your arms, white vinegar, and then shower, you know, and then your arms, legs, anything exposed. Put a wet towel around your face and your head if you have to. Do the same for your kids and pick them up and keep them above, you know, waist level so they're not down there. Don't just drag them along by the hand and expect them to walk. They'll fall out and die. The gas is at their level. And they're more susceptible to it because they're little people and they got little lungs. This is all very serious. I'm doing this for a reason and I want you to share it. Joe, I'm going to let you make as many more comments as you want to, dude, because you are certified in this and you've got a right to talk. And then I'm going to get off this thing. I'm not in a rush to. I can give it another 10, 15 minutes or whatever. I would appreciate your comments. So make all the comments you want, and then I'm going to get off here. I'm going to leave it to Joe, and anybody else who wants to talk, chat about it, and I'll read them. Thank you for your input. Thank you for the knowledge, and thank you for being a firefighter and for everything you've done before now, because I know you've been through some stuff. Everybody else is running out. You're running in, you know. So It's just like 9/11 Part 2. This is 9/11 Part 2, and this will go down in infamy. But this is in history. This is 9/11 Part 2. All those people out there with the dust, and I wish I could have gave them all dust masks because I knew, and they didn't, and then they got asbestos and they're dying now from it. This right here is going to cause death now, or it's going to cause death later. They got to stop this. They got to put a stop to it. These people have already shaved years off their lives by breathing this nasty stuff that's worse than the devil itself. They need to get the hell away from that place. They need to evacuate. That is all there is to it. They need to call it. Make the call. Make the call. Stand up for all the babies that's got bleeding noses right now. Make the call. They can get treatment in Dallas. I keep saying Dallas because that's just the first major city I can think of that's not east and west the way the wind blows. Or south. I'd say, you know, head north. That's what I would do if it was me. But you could go up to, you're down on I-10 Baytown area, you know, go north of that. Listen, the storm cloud, I'm sorry, the smoke cloud, yes. This nasty, evil devil thing went west. And then it came a little back east, but it went west. So when the winds come in and rain comes in from the west and come back east, everything, it's going to rain that stuff back down. Go north. Straight up. But I would say around the cloud and everywhere it's been needs to be at least, I would say, 10 miles evacuated and all up under it. And then in that long trough that it made, all the way along that edge of that trough, at least I'd say 10 miles on the outside of all of it. Then I would say definitely all of Deer Park needs to be evacuated, and I would say that they need to look into other places down there. Well, I don't know about Pasadena, but Channel View. I'd have to look at all the ones that were down there that had any kind of a level that was higher. Here's why: it's coming back out of them tanks again when that rain displaces the foam, like they already said it's going to. It's coming right back out, and that chemical is the benzene, but it's other chemicals in that whole plant they're not telling you about. It could be benzene mixed with cyanide. That's a 1-2 punch. That's a knockout. So you couldn't pay me enough to go there. I'm not going there, and yeah, I'm gonna get off this thing. You guys, I'm gonna go ahead and share this video with whoever you want to, and I'm gonna put it up on Twitter. They can do what they want. Come Monday, the rain's gonna come down. It's gonna make it even worse. It's gonna leak again, and you know, they had to eventually get people out of Chernobyl. I'm saying this should be like a 2-week event that people should leave for at least 2 weeks. That's just what I would say, at least, because and they can't pump the stuff down. You know, it's just like I was saying, they need to buy a tanker, an ocean tanker, an oil tanker. 330,000 gallons it will hold. Park it down there and hook it up to the jetty. The jetty is a pipe that goes right to the plant. All of those things should be able to hook right up to it. Pump it down there, level this place, put up new tanks, pump it out of that thing up to here, or take it to another country, or do whatever you're going to do with it, and call it a day. You know? Because trying to put it onto another tank on this same place is failing. And it's taking too long. You know. But that's what I got. And they need to find out what's in the mystery tanks. They gotta fess up and tell some truth here, so these people know what they're dealing with, and so that first responders know that there may be cyanide. You might want to get you one of those mouthpieces I'm talking about with the one-way check valve if you don't have one. Everybody else needs a respirator, not just some little dust mask like that one girl had. She's already been dosed by it, and there was a whole nother report dosed by it. So that's all I got for you people. I don't know what to say. Pray for your Deer Park, and pray for Houston and the surrounding areas of Baytown and of Channel View and Pasadena, and I can't do any more than what I've done, I guess. Y'all stay safe. I'm out. Peace.